All right, so I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start with the negative first, man. And these are the officers who got some type of big complex. These are the authority complex officers. I mean, you give these people a badge and any little type of authority, oh man, they're going over the top and beyond. The most petty, disrespectful, rude, egotistical officers you will ever see in the chain gang. And it is completely ugly, it's unnecessary, it's crazy, and not only is it unhelpful to them, which they fail to realize, but it's definitely unhelpful to the entirety of the incarcerated population. So these officers are definitely the top flight security of the world, who take their job position to their head and maximize it to the 10th degree. And they go above and beyond in everything. Just like I was using the illustration at the very beginning. That guy who is pounding on the glass, telling everybody to sit down. But not just that, man. These officers who enforce every little rule. But it's not only the fact that they're enforcing the rules, because yeah, that's their job, right? But it's about how they go about doing it. Their attitude, the disrespect, and just, man, the petty, crazy bullcrap they do on the day-to-day. You know, stopping people in line going to chow just because they feel like their beard may be a little too long. And come here, you know, and just yelling at people, come here, right now, come here. Don't walk away from me, come here. Go shave that off. Shave that beard off right now. You know it's not supposed to be past this length. And it literally be a little bit longer than that. But you don't have to do all that, man. Hey, come here. You know, they always say, inmate, hey, inmate, come here. Hey, go shave that beard off. You know it's not supposed to be that long, whatever. But just the attitude, the aggression, the disrespect, this talking out the side of their neck, man, it's crazy. You see these officers in the chow hall, like in certain, you know, prisons, you're not supposed to be talking in the chow hall while you're eating. But you'll see some officers, they'll be like surveillancing the chow hall, like walking up and down, you know, in the middle of the chow hall, just scowling. All the inmates eating. He's looking at him like, look at this freaking dude, man. He's just waiting to catch somebody talking. Hey, no talking. Get out, go. Bro literally just sat down with his tray. Didn't even take a bite yet. I was asking bro if he want to trade his cookie for, you know, the chicken or whatever. You know what I mean? Trying to make a trade on the tray. And the officer hears, hey, inmate, out. No talking right now. I don't want to hear it. Out. Come on, bro. Crazy. And I can go on and on and on and on and on about the craziest examples you'll see. In visitation, guys been waiting months or years, you know, to see their wife or their kids or their loved ones. And the moment that they get up there, you know, because they have a sculpted beard, because they're trying to look presentable for their kids, you know, officers, no, you got to hack that right now. Like, what do you mean? Like, nah, bro, like take the inmate in the back room and have another barber shave his beard, bare face, booty face him. You know what I mean? It's humiliating, embarrassing, stuff like that. And even that, okay, I understand there's a rule, no sculpting to the beard, but that's crazy. You know, or making them go back to the dorm because they don't got a white tee under their blues, or, you know, all type of different stuff, man. Just the minute rules that are enforced to the 10th degree with no understanding, with complete petty strictness. Or just the attitudes, man. Officers doing master roster count, walking around at night. And, you know, they go over the top whenever they come out. Now, everybody, I'm doing master roster count tonight. I want you to speak up. Say your DC number loud. Speak up like a man. Like, come on, bro. You don't have to say any of that. Bro comes out and people are saying their name in DC, which you literally have to do every single night for every single day that you're incarcerated. Bro, we've been doing this way longer than you, for the most part. Guys have been doing time for a while. And, speak up, inmate. Speak up. What? Like, come on, bro. That's not necessary. Just those type of attitudes, bro. You know, certain type of people, because maybe they got picked on while they were younger, or maybe they feel like they have no control of anything else in their life, or maybe they feel less than or insecure, whatever it may be, because they have a position of authority and they know that pretty much whatever they say or they enforce while at their workplace, while working in a prison, you know, they can get away with it. And it gives them a false sense of security or fulfillment or power or prestige, making them feel better about themselves just because they can control people or the environment around them. And it just goes to their head. Man, it says you want to see like a corruptness of a man, like, yo, give him a gift or a position of power and see how he responds. That's really how you're going to test their heart. And man, it's tested, proven time and time again with many officers throughout the prison system who take that little bit of power, that little bit of authority, and it goes straight to their head. So that's the negative example of the authoritative, complex, driven officers, man. And at the end of the day, listen, this is not helpful to them or to anybody around them as far as like the incarcerated population. One, it's not safe for them. Because you got some convicts that doing life, they don't care, you know what I mean? Officers get stabbed, bro. Officers get jumped on, they get beat up. You know, some of them don't make it home. And like I said, I'm not trying to speak on this lightly. It's terrible. But the reality is, man, like, yo, you're working in an environment around guys who got murder charges, extremely violent people, and all that disrespect doesn't help you. It doesn't make you look good. It doesn't make people like you. And also, too, it makes like the environment hostile. You know what I mean? You get a certain officer working the dorm and they're talking crazy to the whole dorm, selling the dorm out and turning the TV off and putting all the lights on and making everything hard for everybody living in this environment. What's going to happen to the people living in the dorm? And they're going to get pissed. They're going to get angry. Now there's tension, you know, and it's for the most part going to be projected on the officer. You know, so it's not safe and it's not like wise and it's not cool, man, at all. It's normally those type of officers who always have like the paradigm and the perspective like the inmate population deserves this. Like they deserve nothing but being treated like scum and being disrespected. And obviously that's a terrible paradigm to have in life about anybody. And now you also got the inmate guards, the inmate police. And I'm not talking about like the people who are really incarcerated. I'm talking about the officers who want to be inmates. And for the most part, man, these officers are harmless. You know, it's just a funny like contrast compared to the authority complex driven officers who are extremely petty, rude, disrespectful, enforcing every rule to the T. And then you got like the complete opposite side of the spectrum. And that's like the officers who just want to be cool. They just want to fit in. And in all actuality, even though they're the police, like they 12, you know, they're prison officers, they're prison guards. In all actuality, they're pretty much just like an inmate. They really want to be an inmate. These are normally like the young guys who are in their 20s, 18, 19, young 20s, or sometimes maybe even mid 30s, young 30s, or even the age doesn't matter. But for the most part, these are the officers who are more down to earth. They're a lot more easy to get along with. And at the end of the day, like they're just trying to fit in, you know, because just like I always say, your prison's not much different than society when it comes to like, man, like relationships to a degree, you know what I mean? It's the world behind the fence. It's the world behind the wall. It's an incarcerated society. So there's like social status bars, you know what I mean? So some of these officers who maybe really weren't that like socially, like prestigious, you know, they weren't like in a social cool club in high school or in middle school or whatever. Maybe they were kind of like outcasts or losers or whatever. Like some of these officers, they'll be working in prison and they'll see that if they let, you know, the incarcerated population, the inmates get away with certain things, or, you know, they can be everybody's friend, you know, it kind of makes them cool. You know, so they're really just trying to hang out with the guys and, you know, tell war stories. And once again, man, at certain prisons, like inmates, the convicts, you really can't be talking to the police. It's not a good look. Some states are different. Some prisons are different. But for the most part, there's like a divide between the incarcerated population, the convicts, and the police. But once again, it depends what state you're in and what prison you're at. Because sometimes, man, the police can be super friendly. And sometimes you can even see the convicts, you know, the inmates, the incarcerated population be super friendly as well. And they can be hanging out. So it all depends, man. There's a balance to it with every situation, with every state, with every culture, you know, so there's balance to it all. But the officers who want to be inmates, man, they're harmless. They don't really mean no harm. They're just trying to hang out. They're just trying to get their check and go home. And really, they're just trying to fit in. And they're just trying to be cool. But these inmate guards, though, honestly, a lot of the time, they can normally find themselves getting caught up in like inmate politics. They normally become, and a lot of these guys, man, they're kind of like naive, ignorant, young. So they're not really trying to like go to prison and be some corrupt officer and run the bag up. They kind of like get manipulated or finessed or kind of get forced into that position by like convicts who are on that type of time. You know what I mean? Like they're just trying to build with them and play close to the officer and really get them as a route. Or sometimes, man, they'll get caught up in drama. You know what I mean? Because, this, inmate wants to do another hit on this inmate. So he'll ask the police to let him slide to this dorm or try to make a move for him. So it's normally those type of officers who are trying to be cool, you know what I mean? And be super friendly and, be accepted by the inmate population, the inmate police. They normally get caught up in drama. And more often than not, they normally don't last long. For whatever reason it may be, could catch a case, could get fired, or they just won't stay there that long. And then you got Cell Phone Charlie. Cell Phone Charlie, that's actually a nickname of an officer that I'm thinking of in my head. And it's actually like a common, I think, name in the prison system that the police name won't even be Charlie, but it's just like a coined term that, the convicts will use for police who are over like the top when it comes to looking for phones and dope. Now these type of officers, man, like they're not even really like that petty in a sense to where they may not be like extremely disrespectful. They got more wit than that. They're more intelligent than that. They're not trying to like enforce every rule and be in everybody's face and be yelling and be petty. They're not really driven like with that authority complex. Cell Phone Charlie is just trying to move his way up in the ranks. He's just trying to show administration and, his superiors, the people over him as far as like lieutenants and colonels and captains and all that. He's just trying to he's a brown noser. He's trying to do everything he can to find phones and dope. That's all he's doing. He literally all day, he's in the cut, he's in certain buildings in administration and certain dorms looking out windows. You always see him on the pound, just like looking at everybody, try to stay low key. He's just always watching. He's trying to stay like he keeps his ear to the pound. He's always, trying to talk to the snitches and find things out because he's just trying to find the dope and the phones. Literally, whenever their phones get knocked off, Cell Phone Charlie's behind it because he's an undercover FBI agent. His life has become being like this detective on this prison compound. And he's no good. Obviously, you want to stay away from him. But at the end of the day, I don't necessarily think that he means any harm. He's just trying to move up in rank, and he's just going above and beyond to find anything that he can. And he's on that type of time. If it's on the pound and he hears about it, he's going to do his all and his everything to find it. Even to the point to where he gets so cocky or he gets so determined that whenever like there's people talking and people snitching or people dropping kites and this person's like a big plug on the pound selling a lot of dope or phones and, it gets word out that he's doing this and making these type of moves, Cell Phone Charlie will even pull up on him and be like, coming for you, man. Don't let me catch you slipping. Cell Phone Charlie, he just trying to find some dope phones. That's it. And you also got the convict cops. Now, these are the best type of officers when it comes to the inmate population. And the reason why a lot of these officers, man, they're older. They've done a lot of time. They've done a lot of time, more time than most convicts. Or they just grew up in the system from years ago. And, man, for the most part, these are guys or women who are brought up like in the old school system. And they pretty much stay in their own lane. They're not being petty. They're not being disrespectful. Of course, they do their job. They enforce the rules. But they understand that everybody incarcerated, man, that they're men or women, for the women's facilities. And they show them respect, man. They're not overly friendly. They're not trying to like really be amongst the incarcerated population and let them do them. They're just there to do their job, get their check, make sure everybody's safe, and they go home. And same time, man, these convict cops, man, like if you disrespect them, they'll shoot a fade too. I see plenty of cops, man, if you disrespect them, they'll stand on their own too. And they'll go in the back laundry room, they'll take off their uniform, their belt, and they'll shoot you a straight fade. These are the convict cops who don't really see the inmate officer divide. Of course they do, they understand it because that's the type of world that they're in. but they don't view the incarcerated population like less than, and they don't like project that. They just do them, you know what I mean? Let the incarcerated population do them. There's mutual respect, then they're always the same. That's one thing that the incarcerated population, the convicts, can appreciate about the convict cop, that they're always going to be the same. Like, yo, if he catches you doing something wrong, you're going to jail. Like, it's just a given, you know what I mean? He's going to do his job, but at least you know like what type of time he's on. You know, he's gonna stand on that. But also too, man, they're understanding. You know, they're not petty. They don't enforce every rule. You know, they're not the type of officer that if you go to visitation with a sculpted beard, and if you haven't seen your family for a year, they're not gonna make you shave your face, you know, butt booty, and go in there with hair all over your face and your clothes before you see your kids and your wife. You know, they understand. You know, because they can sympathize. They can put themselves in your shoes. Why? Because they see, you know, the incarcerated population as humans, and they got respect. But my personal favorite of all prison guards is the missionary prison guard. And I can think of one specifically on my head. Now, these are believers. These are Christians. And I'm thinking of one specifically on my head that just like, you know, these not just officers, but Christians in general understand that no matter what career they're in, that everything's ministry. So there's one specific officer that I'm thinking of, man. He come to work every single day with a missional mindset to share the gospel and to authentically and genuinely love the incarcerated population. I'm talking about like for real, all day, all throughout his rounds, wherever he was working, whether it be the dorm or the kitchen or the center gate, man, this man was being extremely intentional about building relationships with the incarcerated population, being a listening ear, giving encouragement, giving counsel, but most importantly, sharing the gospel and even praying for the incarcerated population. I remember this guy several times, man. He knew that, you know, the Lord had transformed my life while I was incarcerated, and I was, you know, doing a whole bunch of ministry on the pound. He seen me preaching on the yard and doing Bible studies in the dorm and prayer calls in the dorm and things like that. So we would fellowship, you know, of course, like I, as a convict, you know what I mean? I couldn't be overly friendly with the police, so there had to be some boundaries in place. You know, at least I look crazy in front of, you know, the incarcerated population, like why I'm in the face of the police. But no, we would chop it up and we fellowship. Definitely like in open, you know, obvious areas, you know what I mean? So it didn't look like I was snitching or doing anything crazy. But man, this guy on several occasions, man, he would just pull up on me and he would encourage me. You know, he would just remind me of God's call upon my life and what God had for me upon release. But not just me, man. I watch him do it with everybody, especially whenever there be guys going to confinement for fighting or chaos, man. He was genuinely intentional about like speaking peace and speaking life into people. And so my encouragement, man, to all prison guards right now who are watching this, like, yo, I understand that you in your personal life, you may be going through things, but I just encourage you, man, don't take it to work. You know, because I think that's what a lot of officers can do at times. Like the officers who can be rude or disrespectful, they can be mad with whatever's going on in their life and they'll go to work and they'll take it out like on the incarcerated population because they feel like they can get away with it because they have the authority and the power to do so. So I just encourage you, man, remember and recognize and understand that the people that your job is to supervise and to, you know, oversee, man, that's a woman just like you. You know, you, I'm sure, have committed crimes sometime in your life, but they just got caught and they're doing time for it. So be merciful, be gracious, be understanding. And I'm sure you probably maybe even have family that's incarcerated or have been incarcerated at one time. So would you want anybody treating your family member, your loved one like that? So just show respect and be a real person. So listen.